In ExampleBasics01Notes, we learn how to play a single simple note. The first thing we need to do is import the library, and then we will create a setup function. In this setup, we don't have to do anything. Then we create I'll just create the setup function out of because I always do this. So let's just do some boilerplate things here. I'll clear the background, and I am also using this idiom of using the settings function at the very beginning to define the size of the sketch window. By the way, on the left you see the example we are talking about already completed, as you can find in the example section of the library. But I'm just going to recreate this really quickly and comment on some of the things that I'm writing. So this is kind of the boilerplate thing so that the sketch is running. So now I want to play a note whenever I press the mouse. So I create the mouse pressed function here, which is called when the mouse is pressed. And then I simply write tone dot and then note on. And here I have two parameters. One is the first one is the pitch of the note, and the second one is the velocity or the volume or amplitude of the note. So, so the pitch is described in values between 0 and 127, which kind of conforms to the MIDI specifications. So out of experience, I know that 45, for example, is somewhat in the mid frequency range. And then the velocity is also defined in integer values between 0 and 127, where 127 is maximum volume and 0 is no volume. So I'm just going to use 100, which is a normal, well, it's rather loud, but you see. So now I have this function here, and when I now run the sketch, I'll get an empty window, but when I press the mouse, I hear a tone. But the tone never stops to play. In order to deactivate or turn off a note or a tone, again, we need to actually send like a second signal to the tone engine, and that we do when we release the mouse. So when we press the mouse, the tone is played, and when we release the mouse, we want the note to be turned off. And for this, we have to send a message. Since this is a monophonic setup, which means only one note can be played at a time for now, there are ways around this, but I'll get into those in later examples. But so if we can only play one note at a time, so if we want to turn off the note we were just hearing, we just need to send a note off. In later examples, you can also add actually a pitch again, and if that pitch matches the note on value, so for example, if I say note off 45, I will just turn that one note off. This is only helpful in a polyphonic setup, for example, when you use MIDI to talk to other instruments. But that's something we will address later. So for now, it's enough if we just send a note off. So let's run the sketch. Oh, sorry, there's a D missing. So now it's blue, and that means that it's the right callback. So now I press the mouse, the note gets played, and I release the mouse, and the note stops. So, and just for the to make it a bit more also with the visual representation, we're just going to draw an ellipse in the center of the screen whenever the note gets played. So I'll use the ellipse function and specify the X and Y position, which is half width, half height, so the center of the screen. And then there's a method in the note class, which is called isPlaying. And this is a Boolean, so we can say if the note is playing, the size should be 100, and if the note, or did we use a 5? So if the note is not playing, then it should be 5. This is here, this way of writing this if clause is a shorthand, and it's really handy for doing inline evaluations. So this means if note is playing, or if tone is playing, use 100 as a radius for the, or as a diameter for the ellipse, and if it's not playing, use a 5. And I do this twice for x and y, for height and width. So now when we play this, we should see something on the screen. So this is a 5, diameter 5 ellipse, because nothing is playing. When I press the mouse now, the ellipse changes its size. And that's pretty much it for now. Maybe one other thing, which is also part of the example, is that we can also, you know, make this a little bit more interesting by randomizing the actual pitch that we play. So we use the random function to generate a number between 0 and 12 and add this to our 45, store this in an integer m note, and now every time we press the mouse, we get like a random number between 45 and 57. So let's see how that sounds. Let's hear how this sounds. Okay, that's it. So this shows how to play a simple note.